Hello, welcome back to Suspin YouTube channel. In the previous video, we learned how to create Elastic Kubernetes cluster on AWS. And in that video, we are able to create the cluster, but no node was provisioned onto the cluster. You will need to create a compute capacity, which is called node, on your EKS cluster to be able to run the load or application that you might want to deploy onto the EKS. Now let's quickly explore. If you see on my screen, this is the EKS cluster that was created. If you click on this EKS cluster and you click on resources, you're going to see all the add-ons that were added during the configuration. And if you click on any of them, for example, if you select this, you can see under the detail, he's saying pending. Yeah, this container is pending because there is no node, which is a server, to run this container or this add-on, as the case may be. So that is the work of the node. The node is going to allow those container to run. So just take note of this pending, and we're going to come back to check what the status is after we must have created the node. So I'll go back to my cluster. So for you to create the node, you're going to click on the name of your cluster. And if you look at it, if you look at that blue line just right at the top, it says the next step, provision compute capacity for your cluster by adding manage node group or creating a Fargate profile. So these are the two ways in which you can create nodes on your EKS cluster. Where the manage node group is provisioning EC2 machine to run as nodes, or you can use a serverless service, which is called a Fargate. But in this demo, we are going to be using the manage node group. So if you scroll down and you click on compute, and there's a portion called node group. So you're going to click on add node group, and you're going to provide a name for your node group. So I'm just going to call it EKS node. I'll just call it EKS node. And the next thing is to assign an IAM role. If no role has been created before, you can use the create recommended role. So, and I like to use it because this is the recommended role that has been suggested by AWS. So in your own case, you might not see this if you don't have any role created before, but here I have actually created a role, so I can select it. In your own case, you can just click on this and it's going to open a new tab, and it must have pre-selected all the roles for you, and all you just need is to click on next, and these are the row that have been selected. You click on next and you give it a name. I can call it EKS node role. It's just up to you. The name doesn't matter. So you create it and you click on create. So if you click on create, you head back to your EKS cluster and refresh. And when you refresh this and you click on this role, you see that that role is available now and you can select it. Then we continue and we just go with the default here. We click on next. And here under AMI type, you can select the type of AMI that you want to use. So we have a lot of them, but in this case, we'll just go with Amazon Linux 2023. And you have the option to select what type of capacity do you want to move. You see, on demand or spot. On demand is just the pay as you go type, while the spot one is the type of EC2 machine, which you can use for a very short process, because the availability depends on the bargaining, or I would say the demand for it. If someone has demanded and ready to pay more price, AWS can retrieve this machine from you. So we are going to go with on demand, and then this is the machine type. I'm going to go with T3 medium, the capacity of 20 GIB, and under the group scaling configuration, this is where you have the auto scaling that added and remove nodes from your cluster as needed. So in this case, the desired size is the size that you want to have at any point in time on your cluster. So in this case, I'm going to leave it as 2. And if you look at the minimum size is the minimum number of node that your cluster must not go below. So that is, even when the auto scaling is scaling down, it must not go below this number of cluster. And why the maximum cluster could be the maximum number. That is, even when there's a need to upscale, it must not go beyond this number of cluster. So I'm just going to leave it as default of 222. And you see here, this is a NodeGroup update configuration. It's talking about the maximum unavailability. And it's just saying that in the number of nodes that are running at the same time, what are the tolerance of your EKS cluster? How many number of this node can be unavailable at a point in time? So you can give it in terms of number, or you can give it in terms of a percentage. We can go ahead and click on next. And here we need to select all the subnets where you want your nodes to run. And if you look right down there, it's saying configure remote access to node. So if you want to be able to SSH into your node, you will have to enable this. But that the essence of automation is for you not to manually intervene with all these nodes. So in that case, I'm just going to leave it as it is, and I'm going to click on next. And if you look, just review what you have created there, and then we just go ahead and click on create. I see everything is fine. If you want to change anything, you can click on edit and change it. But I think we are just good here, so I'm going to click on create. This is going to take a couple of minutes as well, maybe between 6 to 10 minutes. So I'm going to pause the video, and when the nodes are created, I'm going to come back and we're going to explore what we have. So let's wait a minute and I will see you in a few minutes. Thank you. Okay, welcome back. So the node has been provisioned, and if you click on nodes, you're going to see that 2 node. Remember, we configure that we need minimum or maximum of the desired node to be 2. So we have 2 nodes created. And if you go to your EC2, I just click on EC2 at the top right, and I'm going to open it under type. If you go to EC2, you should be able to see that 2 machine or 2 server are already running. You can see it. If you look at the instance ID, this one ended in 4B8, and this one also ended in 89F. So these are the 2 servers that have been provisioned through the EKS. So if I go back, and you're able to see the 2 machine, running. And this is you can see the detail of the machine here. If you click on the machine, if you click on the one of the machine, and you can see the status is what? Ready. Remember the other time it was showing pending at the beginning. I can still go back to show you this. So you go on cluster, and let's say you go on resources, and let me click on this. This is the one I clicked the other time that was pending. If you click on it now, you can see is what is running, because now there's a node to run the job. And you can see this is the node on which it is running. So if we have created, let's say, a load balancer, then that load balancer will distribute load between the two nodes that are running. So if we go back to resources, we have nodes. These are the nodes. As you can see, a lot more nodes were created based on the add-ons that we added during the configuration of our EKS cluster. If you click on that cluster and you click on nodes, you're going to see the two nodes. So this node now are ready. They are up and running and ready to take your job to deploy your application. So that is that about this. So I will implore you to watch the previous video on how to create an AKS cluster so that you can follow, easily follow on how to add the nodes. And I'm going to create another video on how to connect to this node through the terminal and how to deploy our application on the EKS cluster. So EPS cluster is to set up EKS cluster is pretty easy and simple, as AWS has taken over a lot of the processes for you, and it is far easier compared to when you want to set up your Kubernetes manually. I hope you have learned something from this video. I hope you enjoy it, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you, and bye bye.